Welcome back to Wall again. In this episode, I'm going to be reviewing U2 How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. But before we get into that, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. And if you could also like, comment and share, I'd greatly appreciate that. So I'm running a series of episodes called Soft Rock Saturday. And each Saturday I'll be bringing a different album for review. So please check out my page on a Saturday if you're interested in these videos. Okay, so let's dive in. How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Released in 2004, it was the 11th studio album by the band U2. The previous album was called All That You Can't Leave Behind, and that was released in the year 2000. So that's 4 years between those albums, both studio albums. In terms of sales, this album is the 5th highest selling album of U2's back catalogue. It sold over 10 million units worldwide, and it's gone 10 times platinum in Ireland, 5 times platinum in Canada, 4 times platinum in the UK and Australia and Denmark, and 3 times platinum in the USA. It also got to number 1 in 34 different countries throughout the world on its release in 2004. The album has gone on to win 8 Grammy Awards, which I think is probably a record for a rock album. I'll need to check that out, but 8 Grammy Awards seems like an awful lot for one particular album. The style of this album is probably rock or pop rock, as you'd call it. U2 were trying to be modern in terms of their sound, and they were probably looking to bands like maybe Green Day that were popular at the time, and you can certainly hear the influences of some of the more contemporary bands at the time in this album. So the label on this album was, of course, Island Records, and the producer was Steve Lillywhite, who had worked with U2 for best part of 15 years before as a producer and as an engineer. So the album was recorded at HQ in Dublin. So HQ could stand for headquarters, but we know that U2 studio is in Hanover Quay. So it could be HQ for Hanover Quay or headquarters. But that building, if you're interested in that building, where it's located in Dublin, I will add a link to the end of this video, and you can click on that link and it'll show you exactly where it's located in Dublin, and I do a tour around the outside. When I was in Dublin a couple of weeks ago, I was in that location, so I decided to go take a video just to show you guys exactly where U2's HQ is in Dublin. The album was also recorded, parts of it, in the south of France also. So in terms of production on this album, it's actually quite good. However, it got caught up in the whole loudness wars debacle of the late 90s and through to the 2000s. So basically, the loudness wars was where each album was being produced on CD back in the early 2000s, and producers were being put under pressure from the industry in general to have each album sounding as loud as possible. So the way they made it sound really loud was they reduced the dynamic range by compressing the music. So you had this brick wall effect where there was very little difference between the quiet parts and the loud parts, and it just basically didn't sound very good, and there wasn't much dynamic range in the songs. So that has led to this album not being as good as it possibly could be. So the band lineup for this one, it's U2, so their band lineup hasn't really changed in terms of studio albums since they started in the early 1980s. So you've got Bono, of course, on vocals. You've got The Edge on guitars and synths and keys and all sorts of instruments. You've got Adam Clayton on bass and Larry Mullen Jr. on drums. So this album, Bono actually said about this album, there's no bad songs on the album, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the album is equal to the sum of the parts, and that it really annoys him. So interesting from Bono there to say that about this album, considering it's been such a global smash all over the world when it was released. So in total, there's 12 tracks on the album, and the standout tracks for me, I have to say, like Vertigo is okay. It's a decent song. You've also got Sometimes You Can't Make It On Your Own, which I actually think would sound better as an acoustic song than with the big production and treatment it receives here, but it's still a good track nonetheless. City of Blinding Lights is another very popular U2 song. And what else have we got? Song number 10, which is Original of the Species, so they say. So yeah, there's a few decent tracks on this, but to be honest with you, there's a lot of filler. And that would kind of, to me, bring the album down. It's a long enough album. There's 12 songs on it. I think it clocks in around an hour. But to me, there's far too much filler on this for a U2 album. I think this album came out at a time when CD sales were at their peak worldwide. It was just before streaming and digital downloads had become popular. So U2 really rode that crest of that wave. And it was a new U2 album released at a time when maybe, people had money and CDs were priced where they could buy them. So that's probably one of the reasons why this album has done so well. I don't think it's down to the material alone. I think it's down to U2 fans being obsessive about the band, very loyal, and great marketing campaign by the band. But I really don't think that this album is one of U2's best albums. It's probably in the middle of their catalogue. There's certainly worse albums than this, but I don't think it stands up anywhere near a lot of their fantastic work from the 1980s. So that's my opinion on the album, U2 How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Overall, I give this album a 6 out of 10. It doesn't really deserve a lot more than that, in my opinion. There's not enough good songs. There's no absolute stinkers on it, but there is a lot of filler. So I think 6 out of 10 is an accurate reflection of the album. So let me know in the comments what you think of the album, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. And what's your favourite U2 album? Obviously, most people their favourite albums could be from the 1980s and 1990s. But from the year 2000 on, let me know what your favourite U2 album is in the last 24 years. So, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also leave a comment below. There's some other videos that you might like in my series. As I said, Soft Rock Saturday, every Saturday I'll have a different album for review for you guys. And every day I'm putting out a different album review of different genres. So stay tuned for that as well. Bye for now, and I'll talk to you in the next one.